What's happening, homies? Bringing you a race commentary over the first day of Tour of Americas Dairyland. Janesville, day one. Super sick figure 8 course. Have my stats pop up real quick. Have a 285 watt FTP, weighing about 164 pounds, and I was 23 at that time. So the first lap I'll be showing you for this race is actually just to get a real good feel for the course, how the corners ride, and just kind of the general gist of the course. So you take your first turn after the start, and it's pretty much a screaming downhill into a false flat uphill. Everyone always slows down up here. It always gets bunched up every single lap. Guaranteed it looks exactly like this. So you'll have guys flying up the sides, you have guys trying to hold. The outside line it's honestly a little bit faster, but as you can see here, I'm moving up, not doing a bunch of power because so many people were riding the brakes, and it just wasn't a great feeling to be in the middle of the pack back there. Coming to this first 4 corner section, nothing super technical, especially after that left-hander. 2 wide open roads, cones making it pretty easy to not go into the gutter. And just all in all, it got spread out pretty quickly. This is the 3rd lap, but it didn't stay that way for most of the race. Almost was packed up the whole time, just with very surgy racing for sure. We turned into the second straightaway portion. It's a false flat downhill with a tailwind, so it is screaming. You don't do any watts, and you probably get up to 28, over 30 miles an hour on the day. Speaking of the day, very, very hot. First day of Tour of Americas Dairyland, though, so everyone was, didn't really care that it was hot. Everyone was gunning for it, people attacking left and right, but nothing really got away until the very end, when a couple of dudes did end up getting away, and they stay away from the ending for the win. They went 1-2. This corner is hands down the most technical of the entire race. Very narrow, 1-lane, city-style road into a wide-open left-hand turn. So it wasn't really that the turn was that hard. It would just get so bunched up back in that corner that you couldn't, there was just nowhere to go. So it would end up slowing down and then surging right back up. You take this hard ride into this uphill, 6-7%, but everyone wanted to punch it as hard as they could up that uphill and then kind of cruise here, which I try to avoid. 3rd lap in, I was hoping they would call an early preem. So we've skipped a couple laps ahead here, or not even a couple, just 1 lap ahead. Each lap's about a mile, just to kind of get a feel of how easy it was to get swarmed on this course. So we're coming through this turn here. Go ahead and skip ahead just a tad. You'll see about 0.2 miles ahead, and how quickly you can get swarmed on this first straightaway with the headwind. It really was kind of bad if you stayed to that right-hand side, and I kind of learned that the hard way here. I go for maybe 4th, 5th wheel, and I'm losing 15 positions in one corner because that outside line was a little bit tough, and I never really got the hang of it there. And all of a sudden I had to squeeze a little bit of brake. I'm down to 22, everyone else is going 28, and they're just flying by me. And that was kind of something I struggled with throughout the course. It happened a couple times, but I got better as the race goes on. But everyone else got better, so maybe they got a little bit better, a little bit faster. Guy over here on the yellow Specialized, I think he ends up taking 3rd on the day. Did a really good job, and 3rd overall in the series, so a super good racer. Here's a situation where, compared to a couple laps ago, I do what everyone else did. Follow this guy up, not doing any wattage really, staying under FTP. And we ended up getting a little bit of a gap here, so I tried to stick with this guy. I ended up letting a gap open because I was like, they're going to shut this down immediately. They decide not to. So I get back up on his wheel, or, attempt to do it slowly because I'm still just a lowly Cat 3. Guy comes flying around us. I'm like, okay, so we definitely do have a gap after this guy bridged across. Decide to go ahead and get on his wheel, and we kind of stick this for about 1 lap, but they end up calling a preem lap whenever we come across the finish line. So it's, no one really wants to do any work, but the second they hear preem, a couple people start attacking, they bridge up to us, and we ended up getting caught, but we worked together pretty well here. And you can actually see coming up to this left-hander here in a second that you can really take it at speed if you're away from the group. When you're not away from the group, you get what happened at the beginning of the video, which you get to see the nice finale of that near the end. But end up taking the corner at 28. pretty easy to take it, you know, at speed. You can even pedal through it. I wasn't super confident of that yet, especially because there was just a little bit lip on that manhole cover. But you see, guy comes around me. We punch it up the hill, and we're about to turn right onto the straightaway finish. But as we make the turn, we end up getting caught, and you'll see them come around us really like at a much faster pace. They come around us probably 25, 26, and they're gone. I would have had to punch it right there, and I just waited a little bit too long, and it was a little bit too late. So we cut ahead a few seconds, and the race has really started to pick up, and this guy in front of me takes it up a notch. I'm like, oh, that's the wheel to jump on. And I cut it really, really close. I barely get my front wheel in front of his, and I tried my best to not push him into the gutter. He has plenty of space left. I don't shove him there, but he has something to say, and, you know, mouth off to each other a little bit. It's just the fun of bike racing for sure. Because I'm like, okay, you know, time's to go. I see him pushing, and I know that corner everyone slows down. So we get a little bit of a gap again. It just was never enough, and I think I was just attacking way too early in the race. 7.5 miles in, and you're likely to have some people still want to chase you down. Only about halfway through the race, and with it only really being a 45-minute race, no one's tired enough yet, and no one has teams, so every single person's willing to chase something back. So it just ends up being this cluster of like people just wanting to chase you down. So we jump ahead here to the last couple of laps of the race, just to kind of show you how tight this, I guess, third to last corner can really be when you get packed up. And I ended up squeezing a little bit of brakes when I didn't have to, but, you know, it's always faster to be a little bit, it's not always faster, it's actually slower because I pulled the brakes. But I just opened a gap, and it was tough. You know, it gets really tight. It doesn't quite look as tight as it is on the camera, but, you know, just tough. End up making up the ground really easily on the outside here. Again, we see yellow Specialized guy, full black kit. Kind of following his lines here in the last couple of laps. He seemed to be pretty smart about his racing style. And, you know, overall, the speed was definitely picking up. We come into the last lap here, and it's just screaming for sure. Keep following yellow bike, but he keeps the power down a little bit more than I do. And he gets, you know, 5-6 spots ahead, and it really does make a difference, just that little bit of extra power. He's probably doing 700 watts. I was doing 500. But I see another chance to move up here with red. I'm not going to miss it. Jump on his wheel. End up making up those spots. You see yellow bike here again. I get a little pinch, though, because I thought that maybe they would do the same thing. But as you see, the speeds are much higher, so no one's sticking to that right side. We're all fighting to get to this corner first. I end up barely getting my bars in front of him, and he ends up having to scratch a little bit of brakes. He probably could have taken it a little bit wider and saved himself, but he decided not to. So sitting about fifth wheel on the last lap, we have about 0.7 miles to go. It's still a ways to go, and the speeds really start to drop, and this is where it gets dangerous, right? Because we were just going 31, 32. We're down to 22, and people realize they can get around you, you know? And this is kind of the issue with Cat 3-4 racing, is that there's no teams, and it really slows down really quickly, and no one wants to put themselves on the front and just drill it to the final. So things start to get really swarmy, and I end up finding myself out of position on the inside. Granted, it is a much faster line. And then out of nowhere, this bike decides, in the middle of a crash, to snipe me. I guess that's bike racing, though. First day, it didn't really end how I wanted it to. Obviously, this nice lady you see runs up, tries to help me up. But thanks for watching. Hit like, subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I'll have a couple more races coming up here soon. Thanks.